Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Bienvenidos, ladies and bees and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everybody? I hope you all had a nice weekend, especially for you Americans, since I know that you had your Thanksgiving going on. And especially in terms of movies, it's been very eventful, especially like one of the most lively that it has ever been in movie theaters. But we will be saving that story for a little bit later. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Jay Monty, for starting things off by being the new fish here. But as you may remember in the last episode, it was pretty much all trailers all the time when I brought in Sarah Janelle of Just Too Good to come in and be the special guest where we discuss about all the trailers that recently came out. And I know that there were some stories that we didn't talk about because we were just focusing on the trailers. Well, this is exactly why I planned this out, because I knew that during the American Thanksgiving week, there wouldn't be a whole lot of news to go and discuss, so I saved those for this episode in particular, along with a few extras that we will be discussing that did happen recently. And as an added bonus, to go with the theme of Thanksgiving, we might as well go and continue the tradition of having gatherings around. And this one is definitely no stranger to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Usually, he would come in, especially to go and be my co-host whenever we would do the D23 specials. But this time around, considering that we do have some major Disney news to talk about, it sounds like a very good time to bring him back. So please welcome back to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast from the YouTube channel Toucan LDM, Logan Miller. Logan, what's up, dude?
Second guest week in a row. Yeah.
I know, it's actually been, funny enough, I mentioned how it was a long time that I had a special guest star, and now I'm having two in a row, so yeah, that's pretty crazy right now.
Yeah, you're making up for lost cause, which, hey, I don't blame you. But no, thank you again for having me on board again, even though it's more like me asking you to be part of this week, which we'll get into later as to why. But no, I mean, I do appreciate being back on the show again. It's always a great time, and yeah, definitely looking to listen to some of the news that we have to talk about. I will admit some of these are like very surprising, not so surprising, and to like, wait, what? Wait, what happened? What?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of surprises in store here. And by the way, just want to have a quick mention. People have recently talked about how Morgan Lofting, who is a voice in G.I. Joe and the Spider-Man animated series, has unfortunately passed away recently. So just want to go and quickly pay my respects to Morgan right there. But still, though, going back to what we are talking about here, yes, we're definitely going to have a great time. And honestly, I'm excited to have you on board because, yeah, there's going to be a lot to go and discuss about here. So, Logan, may I ask you, are you ready for today's episode?
Yeah! Yeah, I'm ready.
Yep, definitely sounds like it. Now, Chatwall, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Let's see now. Yes. Oh, yes. Definitely a lot of people are prepared for this. So, with all that said, I believe now it is time that we shall go and get things started. Now, for our first batch of stories, we might as well go with the ones that are considered the older news. Like, begin with those until we get into the more recent ones. But, Logan, let me start off by asking you, do you still watch The Simpsons? Have you seen any of the latest episodes?
every now and then I'll check on it just to see what's new. I mostly watch like the newer episodes if people are like really talking about it, see if like it's like, oh, this episode is really good. You guys definitely need to check it out. And I'll check it out and I'll be like, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a good episode. And I figure like, you know what, with this one being good, I might as well see what happens in next week's episode, just see what happens. And then when episode hits, I'll be like, well, it's back to being generic Simpsons all over again. Well, generic modern Simpsons, I should say. So, yeah, every now and then I'll check in on it. I mean, I'm, like I said before, and I think I mentioned this before, but I'm definitely a huge Simpsons fan. Like, I love everything, like, when it comes to, like, classic Simpsons. And every now and then, yeah, I'll definitely like a more recent episode that I feel like is well deserved to get all the praise and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of the same thing. Like, honestly, nowadays, like, I was a major Simpsons fan, but now I mainly focus, like, if I would watch The Simpsons, it would most likely be because of the Treehouse of Horrors or because of, like, a really major episode that a lot of people have been talking about. But this time, however, this is not related to an episode. This is actually related to one of the voice cast who actually did something in its 35-year history we have never seen before, but a voice is now officially retiring. Yes, Pamela Hayden has officially announced that she will be retiring from The Simpsons. Now, for those of you who don't know, Pamela Hayden has provided the voice of numerous of residents in Springfield, ranging from the bully Jimbo Jones. She also did the voice of one of Ned Flanders' kids, Rod, and I heard sometimes she would do Todd as well. She is also the voice of Sarah Wiggum, the wife of Chief Wiggum and the mother of Ralph, as well as Lisa's friend Janie Powell, and of course, Malibu Stacy. But her most popular voice that she has done is actually Bart's nerdy best friend, Milhouse Van Houten. And at the same time, on my source here on Deadline, I have a bunch of quotes to go and read you here. The first one coming from Pamela Hayden herself, in which she states, "The time has come for me to hang up my microphone, but how do I say goodbye to The Simpsons? Not easily. It's been an honor and a joy to have worked on such a funny, witty, and groundbreaking show, and to give voice to Milhouse and Jimbo Jones, Rod Flanders, Janie, Malibu Stacy, and many others. I'll always have a special place in my heart for that blue-haired 10-year-old boy with glasses." There is also another quote here coming from the creator himself, Matt Groening, in which he states, "Bart needed someone to talk to in the school cafeteria. We named him Milhouse because that was the most unfortunate name a kid could have. Pamela gave us tons of laughs with Milhouse, the hapless kid with the biggest nose in Springfield. She made Milhouse hilarious and real, and we will miss her." We also got a couple of quotes from the executive producers. The first one from Al Jean, in which he joked that Milhouse was a writer's favorite because most of the writers are more like Milhouse than Bart, while James L. Brooks added, "She is a model for having a great spirit for every cast she has been part of. We will miss her." So yeah, this is a major thing that we're seeing here. The fact that a Simpsons actor is retiring. What do you think of this?
Yeah, this is definitely one of those news that definitely took me off guard because given like how the Simpsons are lately is like, I mean, they've been going on for like, what is it now, like season 36 now? Like I would
so.
Okay. Yeah, because I would assume like the main cast like will like just like stay on and like play those roles until like they die or something like that, like forever. But I never come to my mind that one of them could just retire to like wherever benefits them. And I didn't think like it would be like Pamela of all people because yeah, I definitely do enjoy like her characters on the show. Like I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with Milhouse. Like he's definitely one of the like really good like side characters, and it's always a blast to see him on screen wherever he does make like an appearance. And my also favorite role of hers is definitely Jimbo because normally I don't like the bully characters in like movies or TV shows because they're always like one note and they're just like seem like very like boring like antagonists. But I feel like with some exceptions, like this is definitely one of the exceptions because I just love Jimbo and then the other bullies as well because they're just like great like stereotypes of the bully types, and there was like it's always a great time seeing them on screen. Like definitely one of my favorite jokes from them is in that episode where Lisa dates Nelson. And after like she kisses him, like they come by, see them, and then Jimbo's like, "Oh, you kissed a girl? That is so gay." It's like
Yes.
that stuff right there makes me laugh so hard. And yeah, and also I was kind of surprised that she voices Rod Flanders. Like I did not knew that. Like I thought they were both voiced by Nancy. Like that took me by surprise.
Yeah, honestly, I was a bit surprised too. And I will add that with the bully characters, like with Jimbo Jones, Nelson, and the others, that in a way I kind of see them as like like satires of the bully trope that like we've seen it so many times, but like now they're just like poking fun at like all the stereotypes that you would see in those like those movies or shows with bullies and stuff like that. And yeah, honestly, I do agree. Like Milhouse is kind of, I would even say Milhouse is a bit of an underrated character because like
Pretty
everybody
much
focuses on like the main, you know, like the initial family of the Simpsons, but then you got Milhouse that has a whole bunch of like very quotable and often relatable moments. Like, yeah, he's just like the loser nerd, but we all have like our own moments where we could feel like a loser nerd, or like when we would have times that like, I'll even admit there are a few moments that I would even quote from Milhouse. Like sometimes I would say to myself like, but my mom says I'm cool. So yeah, that was honestly, so yeah, like honestly, I definitely really like Milhouse and has a lot of great moments. And like probably one of my most memorable ones, like the one I remember the most is like Bart did some kind of prank and it was just like a side thing, but Milhouse suddenly finds himself in like this action movie where he has to run away from the government or the CIA. And there was even at one point, like Milhouse was like, at the, like he was in a sewage or something, like his hands was up, was like, I keep telling you, I don't have it. And like the cop with the gun was at him like, I don't care. So like Milhouse has to jump out, like just create this, like it has nothing to do with the main plot, but it's just this random side thing in which a little prank caused Milhouse to be like in a freaking Bruce Willis movie. Like definitely a great moment.
Yeah, and what's funny about that scene too is like at the end, like after he jumps off, the only thing he's concerned about is like his glasses being broken. Like he's like, "Oh, my glasses!" It's like that's just great stuff. But
yes.
Also, you mentioned about him being underrated. Something else I want to like point out is like something unique about Milhouse is that he's one of the first like earlier side characters of The Simpsons, because something that people always tend to forget about is like. Before Milhouse ever appeared in the show itself, he actually did make his first appearance on a Butterfinger commercial a year before the show actually debuted, and like around 1988. And I just thought that was like pretty interesting. And I mean, she's been part of like the cast since like even before the show came to be. So, granted, she didn't appear in the Tracy Ullman shorts, but the fact that she's been there for that long, that's very impressive.
No, it really is. What?
Yeah, oh, sorry, I was gonna say, have you seen that Butterfinger commercial?
Oh, yeah, I definitely have. I remember seeing the Butterfinger commercials, and it's kind of crazy, like, seeing the commercials in general of The Simpsons, like, especially when they offered a different quality of animation than you would get at the time. Like, it's kind of, like, wild to see in a way. But, no, like, you're absolutely right. And it's, like, it's been 35 years since she's been doing the voice, like especially now that this, like very soon actually, The Simpsons is going to turn 35. So like she definitely was a trooper. But one thing I do want to go and mention is how surprising it is that she retired, because previously all the other actors, whenever The Simpsons would no longer use a character, it's mainly because the actor has unfortunately passed away, such as like Phil Hartman or Russi Taylor from a few years back.
Marshall Wallace,
another great example. Like, and like, we would never think that like someone would just decide that they're just going to go and flat out retire from The Simpsons altogether. So at this point, I am curious to see what are they going to do in terms of the characters, if like who are they going to recast? Because like that seems to be the big thing. Beforehand, with the other characters, like with Mrs. Krabappel or Lionel Hutz or Troy McClure, like if the person passed away, then they're just going to go and retire the characters altogether. But then after Russi Taylor, that completely changed, because then with her characters like Martin Prince or the twins, they got recast with Gray Delisle, I believe. She's now doing the voice of those characters. So I think it is safe to say that with Milhouse and many of the others, like with Rod and Sarah Wiggum and stuff like that, they ain't gonna just retire those characters. They'll have to like recast.
Well, they basically already recast Sarah Wickham to somebody else because they want to take like a new direction with her in the newer seasons.
Oh, okay.
There's like, yeah, I didn't realize it until I saw a video talking about it last year, and I was like, wait, really? So I check out the episode of the sound, and it's like, oh, they recasted her just out of the blue like that, just for that part. But it's definitely different. It's a different take of the character.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Like Sarah Wiggum, I feel like, especially from back in the days when I watched it, like she's just a rare character to just explain that.
Oh, very rare, yeah.
Yeah, like she's just there to go and explain that Ralph actually has a mom, and that's it. Like I cannot remember a single moment where they actually used her as a legitimate character, and that's it. So
not in the classic seasons. I mean, she'll have like a line every now and then, but it's basically just Pamela doing like a Wiggum impression of Clancy.
Yeah.
Like that old timey like cop. I forget who the character was, but you know what I'm talking about. That see,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I try to remember, because I know like with the Simpsons, a lot of them are like old impressions. I don't remember like which one Chief Wiggum was specifically. I know it's like based on like an actor from the golden age of Hollywood.
Oh yeah. I should know this because I watch a lot of Looney Tunes and I know like some of the impressions they will make fun of. But with the Simpsons, it's like I can't really think of any who they're like based on top of my head.
No, honestly, they're like have you seen the documentary I Know That Voice?
I have not, unfortunately.
No, there's actually a moment where they talked with Hank Azaria, and he mentioned some of the impressions that he did that formed the characters. Like, one I remember is Mo, believe it or not, he's like a bad impression of Al Pacino.
Oh, interesting. I can see that.
Yeah, so
yeah,
like,
I mean,
I know he, and I think I remember he mentioned about Chief Wiggum, but I just don't remember who it was.
Yeah, it's like some like cop character from like the 1930s or 40s or something in that range. But yeah, I just heard like from my voice actor friends, like the best impression you can, or the best voice you can do is like a really bad impression of a celebrity.
No, so, I remember I've done that a few times in my voice acting career, and it did land me a few parts actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah, thanks. No, I remember a few years back, there was one role that I got, no joke, that I nailed it because I did an impression of Patrick from SpongeBob. And like the character himself is not like, he's not like stupid like Patrick, but he had that kind of personality. So I just went and did an impression. It doesn't sound like Patrick at all, but hey, it's a good base for another character.
Yeah, it's definitely unique compared to Patrick than just doing the hey guys, like, you know, that kind of voice. But
exactly.
No, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. But going back to what we are talking about with Pamela Hayden, I don't know what the future is going to be. I mean, they already aired the final episode with her, which I believe it says in my source on Deadline that, it was already back on November 24th that they aired it. The Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked This Way Comes. So that was her last role, her last job that she had to do on The Simpsons. So do you think it's going to be pretty soon that we'll hear the new voices of characters like Milhouse and Rod and some of the others?
I feel like we might have to wait like another year for that to happen. Either that, or they might go with the Rick and Morty route, where they might like dub in the previous animated Milhouse scenes with the new actor or actress. It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
but I mean, my guess is probably they're going to wait for like potentially next year, but we'll have to wait and see because it's hard to predict what they're going to do. I can't tell if they have any plans on having Milhouse in like future episodes of this season. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. By the way, I actually have the answer for you. Someone wrote in the chat that apparently Chief Wiggum is actually based on Edward G. Robinson.
That's it. That's the name.
But as if he were imitated by Mel Blanc. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. The name, like, I was trying to figure out what the name was, but I just couldn't think of it. But yeah, it was definitely that guy.
Yeah. All right. But I think with all that said, I just want to go and wish Pamela Hayden the best of luck on her retirement on the character, and the best of luck on The Simpsons as well, to see the future of many of these characters like Jimbo and Milhouse, especially Milhouse. Like, if you're going to keep The Simpsons going, Bart needs his buddy. Like, we need to keep Milhouse going.
Exactly. I definitely wish Pamela the best of luck, and she is definitely not the dud. So,
yeah. So this is what it's like when duds cry. That's what I'm sure that, hey, at the time, that's what everyone was feeling. So anyways, with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I'd like to know from you guys, how do you feel about Pamela Hayden retiring from The Simpsons? Are you guys excited to see what the new episodes will have with the new voices that could take on her role? Are you a bit disappointed by it? Let me know what your thoughts on it are. All right, let's see. After being Milhouse for so many years, I'm glad Pamela Hayden is moving on. We're certainly going to miss her delightfully nasally take for the character, but at least the writers seem to be willing to do more with her character despite the loss of her voice actress, the same way they kept Russi Taylor's characters. Though it's disheartening that the writers find Hayden replaceable, unlike Marsha Wallace or Phil Hartman. I mean, like, yeah.
I'll admit that is kind of like a bit scummy, and even then, I kind of feel the same way with like Russi Taylor's. Like, what else could they really do with Martin at this point? Because they rarely use him anymore, and it's like a blue moon wherever they use Sherry and Terry. So it's like, I don't get it.
Yeah, that is true. Like, they could have easily retired those characters. They could have retired Russi Taylor's characters, but then again, I would argue that with Pamela Hayden, like, you can't just retire a character like Milhouse or even the kids as well. Like, what are you going to do?
They're pretty big characters.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do with Rod and Todd? Just say like, oh yeah, no, they're going to join his mother. Like, are you just going to go and do that?
Hey, that could give them ideas for episodes. Like, I don't know.
Just Ned Flanders trying to like muster up the courage to go and watch another baseball game, and then suddenly the t-shirt cannons happen again.
Yeah, Ned's is suffering through a lot right now, so let's leave the poor guy alone.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. While I haven't seen that many of the new episodes, The Simpsons is still a favorite of mine, from its classic seasons to that kick-ass ride at Universal, and Milhouse was among my favorite characters. Part of that was part of Pamela Hayden's performance. So while it's bittersweet to seeing her go, I wish her the best of luck in her retirement, and her presence as Milhouse as well as Jimbo and Rod will be missed. Holy crap, I will admit, like, that is surprisingly wholesome. Like, especially from JF. Like, the dude knows how to crack jokes and always knows, like, he like has one of the sharpest wits in the chat wall. But like, just seeing this, like, being like just seriously wholesome, and this is like, oh dang, this is like, did you take this comment from someone else? Like, what the fridge?
Hey, whatever it was, that was very nice of you, man.
No, that is very sweet, dude. Anyways, I honestly don't have much to say about this story, mainly because I'm not a huge Simpsons fan, but this is still shocking. Pamela Hayden was absolutely an important part of The Simpsons, considering she's been there for 35 years, is quite an accomplishment, and the character she voiced, and I do wish her the best, and I hope you can find a solid replacement for the character. All right, and surprisingly enough, there's not a lot of other comments that are being said, actually. My favorite Milhouse joke also, did you know the character was named after Richard Nixon? Yeah, we know about that. Oh, hold on, there's another one. After hearing her voice for 20 years, she'll be missed as Rod, Milhouse, and Jimbo. This isn't the first time they've replaced someone. They also replaced Dr. Hibbert from Hank Azaria to Kevin Michael Richardson. I'm glad she's moving on, and maybe Gray could come in as Milhouse. Food for thought. Well, I mean, with Dr. Hibbert, that's like a different case.
Yeah, that's so completely different.
Yeah. No, I mean, like honestly, it's nothing that they really lost. Like, yeah, it's like the representation is a lot more correct. And I mean, it's freaking Kevin Michael Richardson. The dude's like a genius voice actor, so he could definitely fit in to play as Dr. Hibbert very well.
Oh, yeah. And whenever I do watch any of the newer episodes, like, his voice doesn't really bother you as much. It just, I mean, it's slightly off than how it was originally, but hey, I'm not complaining. It's still...
Yeah, you get quickly used to it. You know, it's like,
exactly.
this is not like how I remember. But then suddenly, like, you can quickly adjust to it, no problem.
Oh yeah, same with like Carl and the other characters.
Yeah, true. All right, so with that said, now we're gonna go on to our first break, and well, considering that we are at the end of the year, it's gonna be that time where we will go and talk about award season. So it is very early, but it is going to be time that we will be making our predictions, so stay tuned for that. And we are back. Now, on our next story that we have here, Logan, considering that the holidays are upon us, this also means that award season is going to be upon us. So there's going to be a lot of discussions about which movies are going to be the best, which ones are going to be the winners, and which ones are like the surprises and the snubs and all that kind of stuff. Are you generally someone who likes to get into like the awards and stuff like that, like the Oscars, the Golden Globes and stuff like that?
I'm mostly curious to know who gets nominated, care less on who wins. I mean, there was a point in time where I'm used to be really big at like the Oscars and all that stuff, but lately it's more just like, ever since I got rid of my cable subscription, it's like I just like find myself like less interested in like watching it itself, unless people are like live tweeting it through like Twitter or whatnot, just to see what their thoughts are. Like I'll like see like some of your tweets and some other people's about it, and yeah, like I said, the most I'll care about now is just like see who got nominated, and then the next day see who ended up being the winner. So yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel like as you grow older, like these awards don't mean as much unless you're like directly nominated. Then that's like an entirely different story right there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if I was like in their shoes, I'll be like, wait, whoa, hold on, the game changer right here. I gotta like spiffy up myself. I gotta like, yeah. Obviously that'll be different if I'm like for whatever reason part of this.
Yeah, I wonder if how many people are. I wonder if there are many people out there like they would go and rant and like talk crap about the Oscars and stuff like that. But then the moment they get a nomination, they'll be like, "Holy crap! I am nominated. My life has changed forever. Now my name is officially changed to Oscar nominated. Yeah, boy, let's go. Time to get my tux and go to Hollywood."
I mean, that's a good way to boast of people, but yeah, no, stay away.
Exactly. But considering that it is starting, we also now have the list of what movies could be nominated for Best Animated Feature. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has officially released the list of all the movies that are eligible for Best International Feature, Best Documentary Feature, and the one that we will be focusing on today, Best Animated Feature. And for the latter, they have revealed 31 animated films that are eligible to be nominated. So I'm going to go through them one by one to give you the list of what these movies are. Some you may have never heard before. Some are, of course, very familiar. So with that said, the nominees for Best Animated Feature at the 97th Academy Awards are Art College 1994, Captain of Vispa, Chicken for Linda, The Colors Within, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, Despicable Me 4, Flow, The Garfield Movie, Ghost Cat Onzu, The Glassworker, The Imaginary, Inside Out 2, Kensuke's Kingdom, Kung Fu Panda 4, Living Large, Look Back, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, Mars Express, Memoir of a Snail, Moana 2, Piece by Piece, Rocket Club Across the Cosmos, Sirocco and the Kingdom of the Winds, Spellbound, Sultana's Dream, That Christmas, Thelma the Unicorn, Transformers 1, Ultraman Rising, Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul, and the Wild Robot. Also, it is worth noting that a few of these animated features are also in competition for the other categories, such as Piece by Piece, also trying to get a chance to be nominated for Best Documentary Feature, in which it will try to compete alongside Jim Henson Idea Man and The Remarkable Life of Ibelin. I think that's how you pronounce that. And meanwhile, Flo and The Glassworker are also going to try to compete to be nominated for Best International Feature, with Flo representing Latvia and The Glassworker representing Pakistan. So, Logan, just out of curiosity, out of all of these, would you have an idea of which ones do you think are most likely going to be nominated for Best Animated Feature?
I'm going to be completely honest. You know how many films I've seen out of all this list?
How many? One?
One.
Really?
One. Yep, one.
Which is it? Inside Out 2?
It's Inside Out 2.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It's like, here's the thing. It's like, honestly, I just don't. Okay, when it comes to like going to see movies in theaters and watching them through like streaming, I just don't really get a chance to watch that many movies nowadays. Unless there's like something I really intrigued and wanted to see, I just like see it as like, maybe I'll catch up to it at some point if I hear like decent things about it. But for the most part, it's like, unless it's like a movie that I really, really, really wanted to see, I'll just go ahead and go straight see it in theaters. And even then, like I only seen like, what is it, like 5 movies this year in theaters? But
dang.
Yeah, I'm kind of like slacking when it comes to that. But that doesn't mean that I heard like great. I mean, I did hear great things about the other films that are listed on this list here. So, and then obviously some of these movies have yet to be released here in the U.S. But if I were to make my predictions on like who would be nominated, it would be Inside Out 2, because you got to throw in at least one Pixar or Disney movie on there.
Mm-hmm.
The Wild Robot, which I heard really good things about. I just haven't got a chance to see it yet.
Oh, you should. Honestly, it's very good.
Yeah, maybe one of these days I'll get a chance to like watch it. I feel like they gotta throw in at least one stop motion film on there. But as for which one, the only one I can recognize is Wallace and Gromit. Unless there's like another stop motion film on here that I'm not aware of.
Technically, the other one is Memoir of a Snail, but we'll go into that later.
Okay. What was the one with the cat that I heard it's really good about, or really great things about?
That would be Flo, actually.
Oh, Flo. Okay. I feel like that could also be nominated because like I said, I heard really great things about it. And you say it's international, right?
Yes, it's a Latvian animated feature.
Okay, and I feel like that to throw in like at least one international film on there.
Mm-hmm.
And as for my 5th prediction, okay, I seriously doubt this would ever be nominated, but A Man Could Dream, the Looney Tunes movie, because it's hand drawn. Come on, it's hand drawn. I gotta give props to hand drawn animation. But if I'm gonna be serious about this, if I'm gonna be legit about this, I feel like.
I mean, I just want to say, technically last year, a hand-drawn animated feature, well, technically earlier this year, but a hand-drawn animated feature did win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars with The Boy and the Heron.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I could be wishful about that, but also another hand-drawn film is the new Lord of the Rings movie. I mean, I seen that I seen that when I saw Wicked, the trailer of it. Mm-hmm. I think it looks really cool for how they executed it.
No, interesting. Well, I know I'm going to be planning on reviewing that later, so I'll see how that goes. I'm going to be very honest with you. It's very funny that you mention your nominations because my list, my predictions, I feel like they are very similar, almost identical. But for some of them, it's actually for different reasons, though. For me personally, as someone who has seen some of these movies, I feel like this year is like the most predictable in trying to figure out which ones are going to be nominated, because there's a lot of them that I feel like they immediately got it in the bag. So the first one I would predict to nominate is Inside Out 2, because you got to have your go-to Disney and Pixar film, and considering the strong reception that Inside Out 2 got, not to mention being the new highest grossing movie of all time, I think in that regard, it would definitely get a nomination right there. Then there is also your go-to Netflix movie, because I feel like now every year there's always at least one animated movie from Netflix that has to be nominated. And I feel like this year they're going to go with Wallace and Gromit. I know technically it's not a Netflix movie, but considering that it is a film that Netflix is putting out, I feel like Wallace and Gromit does have a strong chance, not to mention that it is from Aardman, and even though recently Aardman has been, not always lucky in terms of trying to get a nomination, especially, it did get one for Farmageddon, but not for Early Man or last year with Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget. I feel like there's a much better chance with Vengeance Most Foul. And especially with the fact that with many of Netflix's animated movies that they've been putting out, I'm going to be honest, they freaking suck. Oh my God, it's been a bad year for animated films released on Netflix because they've been awful again and again. Like, the only other one that I would say is maybe good is Ultraman Rising, because yeah, like, the animation is beautiful, but that script, I just felt like it was mediocre. So I feel like, honestly, with Wallace and Gromit, especially hearing how the early reviews, they say it's a very fantastic movie, I think Vengeance Most Foul definitely gets it. And then, going back to my predictions, the third one I would go with is The Wild Robot, because there's always that one other mainstream animated feature that gets nominated, and The Wild Robot definitely has that chance to be nominated, especially when it is, it's debatably the highest rated movie of the year. Like, it's the one that nearly got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, like all the high praise and stuff like that. So in that regards, I think it's going to be, not to mention when it comes to many of the other mainstream movies that did get released this year, I do feel like, or at least released in theaters, I feel like they weren't as strong as The Wild Robot. So in that regards, The Wild Robot would definitely have that chance to be nominated. And then there is your go-to international feature, which I agree with you, is got to be Flow. Considering Flow is the one that whenever you would hear about film festivals, whenever they would present animated films and stuff like that, Flow has always been the one who was always winning the big prizes, like the top prize, the grand winner, and all that kind of stuff. It usually goes with Flow. Now, when it comes to the fifth one, on the other hand, that for me, I feel like is a wild guess. And honestly, yeah, for me, I feel like that's kind of the wild card. And I have like a few possibilities of what it could possibly be. Like, first and foremost, one that I could guess is Memoir of a Snail. And that is also another stop motion movie. Specifically, this is from the same filmmaker who did Mary and Max. And this is another indie animated feature that's gotten a lot of high praise from festivals that it's always like a contender against Flow. So if they would go and nominate another indie animated feature, then it would definitely be Memoir of a Snail. So I feel like that's definitely one contender. Then there is also Moana 2, which I know some people might think it might be a controversial statement, but with Disney, they usually get more lucky than others when it comes to receiving award nominations. And
Because it's on ABC.
okay, well, there is that. Yes. but in the case of Disney, sometimes it's like a give and take, where sometimes they could be lucky in some years and sometimes they're not. Kind of like with a few years back when they did nominate Encanto and Raya and the Last Dragon, or back in like 2016 or 2017 when both Moana and Zootopia did receive nominations. Not to mention that right now we are seeing Moana 2, which we will talk about later, already breaking records at the box office and stuff like that. I do feel like that there is a possibility. I know that the reception so far has been mixed, but with Moana 2, however, I still feel like with its Disney connection, it's still got a bit of a chance. And then there's another one that I will say, like throwing in as another wild card, Piece by Piece. I feel like it is very rare that we see animation documentaries, especially ones that would be among the mainstream. But considering that this is from a filmmaker that is very familiar with the Oscars, I think he actually did win an Oscar. This is from Morgan Neville, who also did the documentary "Won't You Be My Neighbor" about Mr. Rogers, and especially like with the attachment that this is from Pharrell Williams, and if they're really going to go far to like try to achieve.
Oh.
Yeah, so,
I forgot about that movie.
Exactly.
I totally forgot about that.
So yeah, I can imagine that they can go and try to do something special and like really highlight Piece by Piece in a big way to like not just try to go for best animated feature, but also go for best documentary feature. Try to do some, because when it comes to the best animated feature category, like we have seen this before where like Flow, which was an animation documentary that was nominated. And then there was also several years back, Waltz with Bashir, which didn't get best animated feature, but it did get nominated for best documentary. It pretty much tells me the Academy does have a fondness for animated documentary films. So I feel like Piece by Piece would have a chance. And then there's another one that I do have to go and include. This might be my last one that I would guess as a wild card, Transformers 1. And that is another one that I personally feel like could have some strong possibilities of actually being nominated, especially with how it is highly rated. And even some people would say that it is... did I say Flow? Okay, I meant to say Flea. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's what I meant before, Flea. But anyways, with Transformers 1, that's another one that does have a strong chance because of the high praise that it received from critics and audiences, down to the point of being considered one of the best or possibly the best Transformers movie out there. However, I'll admit, I just want to say, sorry to interrupt, but I will admit that the chances might be a little bit low because it didn't do well at the box office and not many people may have seen it. So, but still, though, it is worth mentioning. It's kind of like with Mutant Mayhem last year. It didn't receive a nomination, but because of the high praise that it got, I feel like it definitely has a chance. So, yeah, I would say that for my predictions overall, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, Flow, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, and if I do have to pick one amongst all of these, honestly, I might go. Now I kind of reduced it to either Memoir of a Snail or Piece by Piece, but I think I'm gonna go with Memoir of a Snail. I'm gonna go and predict that they'll give they'll throw another bone to indie animation, and I think they'll go and give it to that.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, so that's pretty much my prediction so far, and We'll see how it goes. I do believe that when it comes to the nominations here, they say that the shortlist is going to be revealed on Tuesday, December 17th, while the actual nominations will be revealed on January 17th. And by the way, just a quick note that I want to mention that next week, by the way, on December 9th, that's when we're going to get the nominations for the Golden Globe. So that will give us a little bit of an idea of what will be to come for this award season. Yes.
Yeah,
I like that meme too. But anyways, now I would like to hear from you. What are your predictions for this year's award season for Best Animated Feature, especially at the Oscars? Do you guys agree with us with the list that we have? Do you have other suggestions? Let me know what yours looks like. All right, let's see here. A bunch of movies no one has heard of, a couple of duds that are only under consideration because of pity, some genuine masterpieces, and 2 Disney movies that are the only ones that have a chance of winning. What a year for animation. Forgive me for being jaded, but aside from bragging rights and pissing off animation Twitter when Disney wins, the Oscar for Best Animated Feature is just an excuse for the Academy to stop a cartoon from winning Best Feature. That said, Inside Out 2 is going to win. All right, I guess we're already at the point of just picking who's going to win, I guess. I was just asking for nominations.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Inside Out 2 wins, but you may never know. They picked non-Disney films as winners before, so literally last year was a non-Disney film. So
I mean, even the year before that, it was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
True that. So hey, third time's a charm. Let's go for it, boy. Let's go for it.
We'll see. Anyways, here are my predictions for Best Animated Feature. Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, The Glass Worker, Flow, and Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. By the way, since 2024 is ending, do mention about standing and supporting for Palestine and Lebanon in the top 5 best and worst, used to reference from Animaniacs 2020, where Dot Warner is marching with women and cartoons. I'll definitely keep that in note, definitely. Anyways, my Best Animated Feature prediction are as follows. Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot, which with at least 2 or 3 other nominations. But to give some other films some love, maybe Moana 2 and Piece by Piece for Best Original Song with both Beyond and, well, Piece by Piece. Yeah, that is a strong possibility. And I mean, I don't think we know officially which songs are eligible for Best Original Song, but I could definitely see, it could be a case like with Frozen 2, where maybe Moana 2 won't be nominated for Best Animated Feature, but it'll probably have one song be nominated. I could see that happening.
Potentially.
Let's see now. For my predictions, it would be Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, Flow, and Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. Not sure if Transformers and Piece by Piece will make it, but we'll have to wait and see. I didn't got much to say, but huge congrats to many animated films being eligible to be nominees for next year's Oscars. By the way, Logan, do I see Pomni peeking behind?
Yes, you do see her right there. Yep. I got her not too long ago when they released that plushie on their website.
Oh, nice. Was the shipping fast?
Wait, what?
Was the shipping...
Wait, what? Shit! Oh, yeah,
no,
shipping.
The shipping.
Yeah. Shipping.
It's
yeah,
a P.
Sorry.
It's a P. Shipping.
Sorry, but I say it was pretty decent for what it is. I think it's 2-3 weeks, I want to say, but I vaguely don't remember. But yeah, I say somewhere your typical shipping, that stuff. So yeah.
All right.
So
that's good. Anyways, I do have a few more predictions to read here. This is definitely an interesting list of animated films. For me, my predictions are Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, Flow, and Memoir of a Snail. But regardless, I'm wishing all these animated films the best of luck, and I'm not gonna lie, seeing Spellbound on this list makes me laugh my butt off. That movie has no chance. It's honestly embarrassing. Well, I mean, it's at the point where anything and everything can be nominated. So of course, something it's pretty much Netflix throwing most of their dices to see how it goes. Like, I am not expecting Spellbound to be mentioned in any of or in the majority of these award things at all.
Yeah, and honestly, when I look at that list, I just see that as like every anime film that came out this year. So
Yeah, I mean, like, well, it's like most of them anyways. It's like even the Garfield movie is in there, and I highly doubt we'll see that being nominated.
no, not at all. I mean, no offense to the people that like that film, but no.
Nah. Anyways, so far for me, some of the best films I say has a chance are obviously the Disney flicks. There's no shock about that. Piece by Piece, Transformers 1 seems like a good contender. And some of the others like Wild Robot or Flow are either be the winners or be nominated that has a chance to beat Disney's film. Other than that, they might have a nomination for songs or screenplay. But overall, it's anyone's game here. I'll leave it at that. All right, I think I'll read one more and then we'll go on to, or actually we'll read two more because I do see a few interesting ones here.
Ooh.
I choose The Day the Earth Blew Up, Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim, Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, and Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Oh, that's an interesting list. I gotta say.
I like that. I seriously doubt the Looney Tunes movie will be on there, but we can only hope. I mean, I'm definitely going to see it when it comes out. So,
same here. Well, yeah. yeah. I'm going to see that too. And finally, my predictions are Inside Out 2, The Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, Flow, and Memoir of a Snail. Also, rest in peace to Orion in the Dark because it got snubbed alongside the most precious of cargos. Yeah, honestly, I'm a bit disappointed that Orion in the Dark didn't get nominated. I guess, like, with Netflix, they just want to categorize that more as a TV thing, but still, I find it to be one of the most underrated films of the year. That was a very nice movie.
Is that from DreamWorks?
Yes, it was DreamWorks, but they only released it on Netflix.
Gotcha. Because didn't we talked about this before? I could be misremembering.
Maybe, but honestly, I'm not sure.
I'm sure we talked about some movie from Netflix and DreamWorks, but it's been a while.
Yeah, true. But anyways, now it is time that we are going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, well, surprisingly, we got a sequel to one of the discussions we've had during our D23 Expo. And let's just say that for the both of us, emotionally, it is quite a lot to try to register. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, on our next story, we're going to go into a discussion that me and Logan, we know that we could easily connect with, and this is in regards to theme parks. And with this one in particular, well, we've discussed about this a little bit before, and I've talked about this a few times in this podcast, but as we have seen so far, it looks like the rumors have turned out to be true, though.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and get into this discussion. Let's talk about the Disney Hollywood Studios update. And yes, after months of speculation, it sadly turns out that the reports were actually true. That the new Monsters, Inc. area, the area in which we'll be hosting the Monsters, Inc. roller coaster door ride, it turns out it will be replacing the area that currently houses Muppet Vision 3D. In fact, the big evidence is this concept art over here, in which we see there we have the theater that currently houses Muppet Vision 3D. Now it's going to be replaced with something else. And even the Pizza Rizzo area, that is also going to be replaced and will be decorated into the theme of Monsters, Inc. But all hope is not lost for Muppet fans either, because what they have revealed is another thing that has been long rumored, but now it turns out to actually be true, and that is in regards to the re-theme of Rockin' Roller Coaster. And not only are they going to switch the theme from Aerosmith, but they're going to be replacing it with the Muppets. Yes, now Rock and Roller Coaster is actually going to be Muppet themed, where the main band of the coaster is going to be Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, where they also promise that other Muppets like Kermit and Miss Piggy will also be featured as well. Now, just to let you know, however, we do not have a confirmation on when these changes are going to be happening. The most that Disney has stated is that next year we will learn a little bit more info in regards to what's going to be happening. When are they going to go and do these changes? When are they going to turn Rock and Roller Coaster into the Muppet themed coaster? And then they will also give out info when they are going to turn the area that houses Muppet Vision 3D into Monstropolis, or the Monsters Inc. area. So, Logan, I would like to know your thoughts on this. Like, you go first, and then I'll talk about my thoughts.
Disney's killing the Muppets again! What the hell? I'm so okay, I'm gonna be honest here. To be frank, before I get my thoughts on this, I want to give I don't think I mentioned my thoughts about like Muppet Vision 3D itself.
No.
I love.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I don't think I never give my thoughts of it, but I love Muppet Vision 3D. Like, it's definitely like a go-to every time I go to Hollywood, Disney's Hollywood Studios itself. And I could be wrong on this, but I feel like that, along with It's Tough to Be a Bug, is my first exposure to 3D films in general. Because I vaguely remember like when I was like young and I get to experience that show itself. Like, it definitely was very entertaining to see, like, oh wow, I'm actually inside the Muppet Theater. I'm actually inside like below the Tree of Life and all that stuff and how cool everything is. And when I saw Sweetums entering the stage itself, like, that blew my mind as a kid. Like, whoa, a real life Muppet that's not an animatronic. Can they do that? Like, oh wow, everything about that show is great. And yeah, obviously, it's definitely like, and for like the last work of Jim Henson, like, it's definitely top notch, and I definitely do love it. Like, it's definitely a classic for a reason. With that being said, this is going to sound like an extreme hot take from me, so Muppet fans beware. I'm honestly okay with this decision from Disney. And the reason why I say this is, okay, I totally get it. This is totally Jim Henson's last project. We should definitely preserve the attraction and all that stuff. But I feel like it definitely had its run. Like, I want to say it's been there since like 1991. That's like close to 35 years. So it definitely had a great run. And I can see like people like wanting it to stay there forever and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like, things are not meant to last forever, unfortunately. And I did dread the day that this day will come. And it's one of those situations where it's like, when I first read the news, I mean, the rumors were pretty obvious. Like, I was kind of like nervous when I first heard about the rumors of like where that Monsters Inc. attraction is going to go. And I was thinking in my mind, like, okay, maybe it's going to that section. Maybe it's not. Maybe it can go to that Star Wars Lunch Bay, which I don't know why that's still standing there. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of like optimistic to be like, okay, maybe it's going to go there instead. But as soon as they made that announcement about where it's going to end up going to be, I was like, what? I mean, I shouldn't be that surprised, but unfortunately, that's how it's going to be. And honestly, the way I see it is like, it's a good compromise because, yes, they're getting rid of much Muppet Vision 3D, but they're going to add something new with the Muppets with Rock and Roller Coaster. And I feel like adding something new, doing something with the Muppets that's brand new, I'm honestly okay with it. It's pretty similar to what they did with Snow White at the Magic Kingdom, where they got rid of the Snow White Scary Adventure, but they end up making like a new Snow White attraction with the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Like, that honestly feels like a good compromise. Like, yeah, they're getting rid of a classic, but they're adding like a new edition based off that IP that's going to be very brand new and it's going to be like new and fresh for the parks. And something to keep in mind that what most theme park fans don't realize is that Walt Disney doesn't want his theme parks to be a museum. Like, he wants them to be progressive. They want to like add new things so that way it'd be new and fresh. not everything's going to last forever. And I feel like the reason why like some of the attractions do last there as long as they have been, like Peter Pan's Flight, the Haunted Mansion, the Jungle Cruise, and all that stuff, because they seem like they're very simplistic at how they execute their stuff. As when it comes to like Muppet Vision 3D, I see screen-based attractions always going to be outdated. Because not to say that Muppet Vision is outdated or anything, though there are some things where it's kind of odd, where it's like, for example, if you go there during like Jolly Holiday, you decide to watch Muppet Vision that has Jim Henson as Kermit. Then after that, you go see that new show where it has Kermit and Miss Piggy, and Kermit sounds slightly different than how he did in Muppet Vision. Like, if you really pay attention, that does feel kind of awkward, but what can you do? But in general, I just see it's like, yeah, it's definitely very devastating that we're going to lose Muppet Vision at Hollywood Studios. But honestly, I'm not surprised. And I feel like people should be more mature about their response towards all this, because I've seen some people online, they're being like so negative about it. They're like being like, I hate to say this, like they're kind of being babies about it, which I hate to be very negative about it, but that's just how life is. Like, people need to like move on, and that nothing will last forever. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Now, I just want to go and put in my piece. If you guys know me, then you know I love Muppet Vision. I even consider it to be my favorite attraction that Disney has done, period. Not just in Hollywood Studios, not just at Disney World, but just in general. It's like a source of, like every time I go to Disney World, even as like a little kid, I always go to Muppet Vision and want to go and see it like several times, like 3 times per trip, you know? But at the same time, though, it's also like one of my main sources of how I grew to be such a huge Muppet fan. So Muppet Vision 3D is is something that I consider to be something that is so dear to my heart. Something that I've, and we just talked about it before, or actually just during the break, that I was extremely lucky last year that I got to go back to Disney World and re-experience Muppet Vision 3D again. Because with this news, like, honestly, there was a part of me that did feel pretty heartbroken hearing about it and trying to register that the rumor turned out to be true. Like, honestly, like when I heard the rumors, like, there was a part of me that really wanted this to not be true, to hope that Disney could just go and say something about it, that they could go and address it, say that the reporters who talked about it, they're just full of crap and stuff like that. But sadly, it's no longer the case. Now, it does help a little bit to see that Disney is not giving up on the Muppets, like fully letting them go from like their parks and stuff like that, especially with the fact that they revealed that they're doing now that they're doing Rock and Roller Coaster with the Muppets, which technically makes it the first ever Muppet ride, like not just like a 3D show or just an attraction. This is like a legitimate 3D ride where you're going to be moving, and with Rock and Roller Coaster, you will be moving for sure. So with Rock and Roller Coaster, I'll definitely be excited to see, even if I'm not really much of a roller coaster guy. I guess I know at least once I'll have to go and try it out. And I mean, like, even on my last trip, I have been growing a little bit to trying out some of the bigger rides. Like, I have done Cosmic Rewind, I did Space Mountain, I did Big Thunder Mountain. Like, I have, my tolerance for like thrill rides have grown a little bit more. Like, I'm not at the point where I'm ready to go into like the Six Flags coasters, but I think I can like on my next trip when they'll open up the Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster, I'll have to try it out at least once. And
me, I'll probably do it like 5 times. I'm definitely a roller coaster guy, so
there you go. But there is one thing that I do want to mention, however. I don't think I'm ready to say goodbye to Muppet Vision 3D. And there is a part of me that still is holding on to that hope that Disney might actually do something. And there is evidence that this may not necessarily be the end, because I know the internet is framing it as the closure of Muppet Vision 3D, the end of an entire era. And there is, in a way, an era that is ending. And yeah, there is a part of me that does, that is a bit disappointed that the area that for like about 33 years housed Muppet Vision 3D, like now, like that is going to be done, but maybe not necessarily the movie itself. Because we go back into my source here on Disney Parks blog, they actually made a comment here that is interesting. As we move forward with these changes, we are having creative conversations and exploring ways to preserve the film and other parts of the experience for fans to enjoy in the future. And not only that, but the most curious comment is not from Disney, but rather the Jim Henson Company. Now, this is from their Instagram account, and they did put out a statement in which they said here, Jim Henson's final project was Muppet Vision 3D, now regarded as a true theme park classic. Innovation was always Jim Henson's North Star, and his trailblazing career led him to a unique challenge, a truly immersive Muppet experience where audiences are part of the happy chaos of the iconic Muppet show. Originally debuting in 1991, Muppet Vision 3D combined 3D technology with real-world practical effects alongside animatronics and live Muppet characters. The result was a one-of-a-kind Jim Henson experience and an unforgettable capstone to Jim's magnificent career. Now, here's the interesting part. As we learn of the show's upcoming closure in its current form at Disney's Hollywood Studios, we look forward to Muppet Vision 3D's next act. So at the very least, there seems to be little hints that we may not see the end of Muppet Vision 3D entirely. That there could be something that Disney could actually do in the future to go and preserve Muppet Vision 3D and still have it be available for the public to see. Now, Logan, have you heard about these possible rumors?
I did hear about that. And honestly, I'm definitely intrigued that they are definitely going to be like, I'm glad that they're definitely going to like preserve Muppet Vision in some way or another. And whether or not that's like official or not, I do have two theories as to how they could possibly do this. Mm-hmm. If they want to take like the more easy route. The first theory is Disney Plus. I mean, they could do something where they just like release a film on Disney Plus and just like have maybe like the pre-shows as like a bonus on the tab or whatnot. But something else that could be a potential option too is maybe have it as like its own standalone Blu-ray release. Like maybe have the film entirely on there, and then as like a bonus feature, maybe like you do have the option of watching in 3D if you have a 3D TV. Maybe have like some cool behind the scenes stuff that we haven't seen before, like maybe like a behind the scenes featurettes thing, or adding more to it, or maybe even include like a bonus episode of the Jim Henson Hour where they include Waldo, like his first appearance on that show. Was it the Jim Henson Hour?
Yeah, it is the Jim Henson Hour.
Yeah, maybe throw that in as a bonus to see where Waldo got his start. So, I mean, that's just me speculating, but that would be like a really awesome way to like preserve Muppet Vision, so that way everybody has access to it as a like part of their Muppet collection. Like, I would definitely buy that if that was the case.
That does sound interesting, actually.
Yeah, but that's my hopeful theories. They could also like maybe like, I mean, if they have like the space for it, maybe they could like try to preserve it somehow in like the Jim Henson, like one of the Jim Henson museums somewhere. Not sure how that would be doable, but I mean, if Disney allows it, they could probably make it work. Maybe. I'm not sure, but that'd be cool.
That could be possible. And I've heard some of those like not the Blu-ray one. That honestly does sound intriguing. But I've heard the rumors about Disney Plus, but then again, I feel like maybe not, because if they would go and do that, we would have already gotten Captain EO on the platform. But
yeah, true.
But I did hear some people mentioning about possible other locations of where they could go and put Muppet Vision 3D if they are going towards that route. One idea could be the area where like you know that show that they're gonna have with the Disney villains, like the area right now that has like the Lightning McQueen show, but then they're gonna change it up to the villains. It could be possible that maybe in the future, where once Villains Land actually does get built, they won't need that anymore, and then they can put in Muppet Vision 3D there. Maybe they can even put in where Star Wars Launch Bay is. That could also be another option.
See, I thought about that too. That could be a potential option, but knowing Disney nowadays, I seriously doubt they'll put the money into something that's rebuilding something old from scratch. I mean, they could potentially make like a new Muppet experience. Like that's something that's completely brand new, that's in the spirit of Muppet Vision, but that's just, again, hopeful wishing as a Muppet fan. But I mean, we can only be hopeful. I try to be optimistic when it comes to these kind of things. Maybe they would, maybe they're not, but who knows? But
there is also another idea, because this is one where me and another fan, I believe it was me and JF, we talked about this on Blue Sky. But if you look into the concept art where they would do Monstropolis, one of the posters you would actually see is actually of the Monsters Inc. laugh floor. So they mentioned that they'll probably use that space for Muppet Vision 3D to do something. So some people have actually speculated that maybe what Disney could do is that they're going to take Monsters Inc. laugh floor from Tomorrowland and they'll put it where Muppet Vision 3D is. Meanwhile, where that space in Tomorrowland is, considering that it already is a theater, they could put Muppet Vision 3D in Tomorrowland.
That could be a possibility, because that would feel pretty awkward. It wouldn't be awkward for Monsters Inc. to still be at Tomorrowland while they're building like a new land in Hollywood Studios. I mean, Disney has done that before with like a couple of IPs, like with Toy Story, for example. But I mean, that could be a potential possibility. And now I know some people will be like, oh, what does Muppets have to do with Tomorrowland? What does Monsters Inc. have to do with Tomorrowland?
No, but like actually the whole plot line of Muppet Vision 3D is about 3D technology. So there is kind of like that sci-fi tie-in that actually does fit decently in Tomorrowland. So it could work out.
I didn't really think about that. See, that makes more sense than a comedy club at Tomorrowland.
Yeah, exactly. I think like that could honestly be a good option. But I will say, if there is any announcement that they would legitimately do, I feel like ultimately we're going to have to wait until Destination D23, which they say is going to be for August of 2025. They said that next year they're going to go and put in more details of what they're going to do. And if there is going to be more info on what their plan is with the Muppets and Monsters Inc. and all that kind of stuff, I think it's going to be at that point.
Yeah, and I'll be definitely looking forward to that too. May not be big as D23, but they still announced some cool stuffs there.
Oh yeah, there's still some major things that they would go and reveal. And And so with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think about the announcement with the rumors confirming that Monsters Inc. will be replacing Muppet Vision 3D? I would love to know what your thoughts on the matter is. Let's see now. I have no idea how to feel. I mean, I always wanted more updates on Muppet Vision 3D, like on the animatronics themselves, but not completely get rid of it entirely. Or B, I would agree with Logan. I do think some things need to progress than just stay the same for every visit. And I do love the idea of a Muppet ride in itself, but I feel like I'm still not ready for it to go. But I can mainly hope that if they move it to make it a Muppet-themed land, I'll be down for that. I mean, who wouldn't? Not all hope is lost.
It's interesting you mentioned that about making updates to the show. They have done that recently. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, granted, they're minor stuff. Like, they did update the seats, and they did add like this new cool projector effect where, you know, the scene where
Waldo, like when Waldo suddenly blows up and suddenly there's like he's scattered around all the theater. Now it's like projection where like now it's like Waldo moving around in 3D.
Oh yeah, which is kind of weird because they did that like not too long ago. So them doing it now, knowing that they're going to close the attraction soon, seems kind of odd. But it's still cool.
Yeah, I mean, like they'll probably like they probably already have a plan or looking into like the reaction of it, and maybe they'll try to figure something out. Like either one.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, while it's cool that Rock and Roller Coaster is getting a cool Electric Mayhem coat of paint, and the Monsters Inc. ride is still sounds fun, Muppet Vision 3D is still a major loss since it's a very underrated attraction. I'd go into this one idea I'd had on how to save it, but I don't have the resources to, let's just say, briefly inconvenience Jack Black. I'll just stick to my hopes that the Muppet ride has some appearance from Rolf. He was always one thing that Muppet Vision 3D lacked. Oh, that is true. I mean,
him. Oh, him and Animal. Animal was surprising that being absent of Muppet Vision.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, Animal did not appear. It's only like in the posters and stuff, never like in the pre-show or in the actual movie itself. That is true.
Yeah, but they gotta leave room for Bean Bunny, so duh.
Yeah, yeah, we gotta make Bean Bunny the star of all of it. Anyways, can't say I didn't see this coming. I just hope beyond hope that we be able to change Disney's minds. That being said, Muppet Vision 3D is definitely past its prime. The Muppets taking over Rock and Roller Coaster seems like a major upgrade for both the IPs and the ride. David Gaznels called it, by the way. Also, while you have the chance, next time you're at Disney World, get a Pizza Rizzo non-alcoholic frozen peach Bellini. Those things are better than butterbeers. Interesting.
Oh, man, that sounds interesting because butterbeer slaps. So
yeah.
I'll definitely take his word on that. Also, really quick on my thoughts on Rock and Roller Coaster. Yeah, I love this. They're doing this because I feel like the Muppets get more attention on that than how they are with Muppet Vision 3D because it's a roller coaster. People are going to be intrigued no matter what.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Like, especially with something like Rock and Roller Coaster. I mean, it's been literally years that we have heard that one day Disney is going to change the theme from Aerosmith, especially now that we have heard that Aerosmith is like kind of retiring. They're having their last tour or something like that. And then there's like the controversies related to Steve Tyler. So eventually that change was inevitable. And now changing it to Muppet Vision, it's like, you know, it's kind of like you get a heartbreaking thing, but also an idea that sounds like a dream come true.
Exactly, yeah. And it totally makes sense with an Electric Mayhem to take place at Rock and Roller Coaster because I can't think of anybody else that would take that place. The only other option I can think of is like maybe Powerline from a Goofy movie, but I'm glad they're going with the Muppets on this one.
No, it's Rock and Roller Coaster. I mean, with Powerline, that's more like pop than anything. It would feel out of place.
Yeah, but that's like the only like Disney musician that I can think of that's like close to that area. But yeah, Electric Mayhem, don't get canceled, guys.
Yeah,
be your Muppetly selves.
Yeah, Electric Mayhem is a lot more timeless. The only other ones I could honestly think of are like the Disney Channel rock bands, like with Jonas Brothers and stuff.
Nope. That will be outdated within a week.
It's already the idea is already outdated.
Yeah, pretty much. I can't think of like who else would be a good spot for that nowadays. So yeah, let's stick with Electric Mayhem.
Yeah. Anyways, I've been to Walt Disney World twice in my life, and I went into Muppet Vision 3D both times, and I really liked it. And this is very upsetting, the fact that they're closing it. Not to mention it's Jim Henson's last project. It is unfortunate, although I do like the idea of retheming Rock and Roller Coaster to the Muppets, and it's fitting. However, I do hope they can preserve Muppet Vision 3D by at least putting it on Disney+. Well, we'll see what the idea is on that. All right, I think we got one more to go and read. Let's see here. I'm really going to miss Muppet Vision 3D. I went and saw this, and I thought it was a masterpiece. It really brought some laughs to my heart. But I am curious about the new Monsters, Inc. door coaster they're making. I hope it will be good. But overall, I hope Disney could do something with Muppet Vision 3D when they removed it. Maybe in another location, but who knows? Also, here's a cute short TikTok video I found that may cheer everyone up. I don't know. I don't want to get like copyright restricted or anything. Don't want to risk that. Sorry, but yeah.
Also, something I want to mention too. This is nothing against the new Monsters Inc. ride or whatever. I'm definitely intrigued by that ride. So it definitely looks like it's going to be lots of fun, and I feel like overall the lane itself is going to be fine. Like, I'm definitely intrigued what they're going to do with Ray Harryhausen's. Is that the name of that restaurant?
Yeah, the Harryhausen's restaurant. Yeah,
Harryhausen. Yeah. So I'm definitely intrigued what they're going to do with that land. It just sucks that it has to get rid of Muppet Vision when clearly Star Wars Lunch Bay is right there, guys.
Exactly.
Like, come on. But on the plus side, we can only think of like what they could use that space for. Like maybe something brand new that would just, I don't know, just get rid of that building in general. Like, it was cool when it used to be the Disney animation studio, or like the other Disney animation studio, but now it's a waste of space.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hopefully they'll have some kind of idea with that building, because honestly, the launch bay just doesn't make sense anymore. But
especially since it's like separated with like 3 different Star Wars areas in that park. Like, that's awkward.
Yeah, true. But anyways, we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, now we shall return into more recent news in which we will be looking at the box office and how it really gave out a big chew. We'll be right back. And we are back. So now that we have went through some of the older news, let's get into some of the more recent ones. Now, Logan, when we talked about the Oscars, you mentioned that you have so far from all of that list, you only saw Inside Out 2. You haven't seen Moana 2 yet?
Nope.
Oh, dang. Are you planning to at least, or?
You'll hear my opinion soon.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair. But even though you haven't actually seen it yet, it looks like, however, many people have. So much so that it resulted in Moana 2 to break some box office records. Yes, Inside Out 2 not only had a very successful box office run during Thanksgiving weekend, but also it has managed to capture a whole bunch of records along the way, making it the biggest Thanksgiving release, not just for an animated film, not just for a Disney movie, but the biggest Thanksgiving release ever. And I want to go and jump onto my source here on Deadline over here, in which it actually lists a whole bunch of records that it managed to break. So I'll go through them one by one over here. And starting off with the international records that it has managed to break down. So far, it's got, and I'm going to go from like down to up. So far, it's got the highest Walt Disney Animation Studios opening weekend of all time across the Latin American region and in France, Italy, Australia, Brazil, and Mexico. It's got the second highest animated weekend of all time in Italy and Brazil, along with a few other countries. The highest animated opening weekend of all time in France, as well as Poland, Egypt, Turkey, Serbia, and a few others. It's also got the second highest international animated opening of 2024 to date, behind only Inside Out 2. And the second highest international opening of 2024 to date, behind Deadpool and Wolverine. Now for worldwide, however, it's got the third biggest opening ever for a musical, behind the 2017 Beauty and the Beast remake and Barbie, as well as the third biggest opening for an animated movie, behind the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Frozen 2. Although I would argue that technically they're only counting the 3-day weekend. I don't know if this actually counts with the 5-day weekend, because technically it did more than the Mario movie on that. But anyways, it's also gotten the second biggest global debut of 2024 to date, after Deadpool versus Wolverine. And in terms of what it did domestically, it's got the fourth highest opening for a musical at the box office, behind The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and Barbie. The second best 3-day opening for Dwayne Johnson, behind Furious 7. The first time ever that a Hollywood star had 2 #1 openings in the calendar month. So in the month of November, Dwayne Johnson was at #1 with both Moana and with Red 1. At $13.8 million, it has the best preview figure ever for a Walt Disney Animation Studios title and the best ever Tuesday for Disney before Thanksgiving, in which it beat out Ralph Breaks the Internet at $3.8 million, and the second highest preview figure for an animated movie behind Incredibles 2, which got $18.5 million. It's also beaten out many of Frozen 2's records, including the biggest opening for a Walt Disney Animation Studios movie. It's also gotten the highest ever Black Friday at the box office. It's also gotten the best Thanksgiving Day take. It's gotten the highest Thanksgiving debut by far, in which it got more than double than the first Frozen. It's got the highest Thanksgiving weekend of all time, and the biggest record that it has gotten so far, the highest 5-day opening of all time, beating out the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which had $204.6 million on its 5-day debut. And if we go into my source here on Box Office Mojo, there are some things that they have to go and update here. Actually, I'm just going to go and jump onto, I'm going to go back into my source on Deadline because they got the updated numbers here. But they have stated that so far, Moana 2 has gotten a domestic total of $225.2 million. Internationally, it made $163.8 million. And beforehand, they said that the worldwide total is $386.3 million. But if we take these numbers that we have right now, I'm just going to do a quick math. And the numbers here are officially $389. Yeah, it's $389, actually. $389 million worldwide. So yeah, even though you haven't seen it, Logan, that's some pretty epic numbers, I gotta say.
Like, damn, Moana, calm down. Like, jeez. Oh, boy. So, before I get my thoughts on why I haven't seen a movie, or haven't seen this one yet, I want to get my thoughts on the first Moana film quick. I like it fine. Like, it's definitely not one of my personal favorites when it comes to Walt Disney Animation Studios, but I enjoy it for what it is. Like, obviously the songs are great. Tamatoa, the crab, he's definitely awesome. Moana, she can be a little bit annoying at certain times, but I'm glad like she's a really good role model for like little kids and all that stuff. And overall, yeah, I definitely had a good time watching the movie. It's just not on par like some of my other favorites that I've seen from that studio alone. So, yeah, when it comes to Moana 2, the reason why I haven't seen yet is because honestly, I just have no desire in watching it, mainly because I just haven't heard really good things about it. And this really, okay, I'm so used to like Disney like releasing like cash grab films, like that's nothing new. But coming from Walt Disney Animation Studios themselves, this is one big cash grab. I'm sorry. The fact that this was meant to be a TV series at first, but they converted it to like a movie, that just seems desperate. And I'm not knocking the people that are working on this film whatsoever. I mean, I'm glad like it's getting like all the revenue is getting like from the box office, all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like, was it really worth it? Like, would people even remember this movie like years from now? Because I just see it as like like every other like generic Disney sequel, or it's like, yeah, I seen it, it's all right, but I'm not going to think about it in the next couple of years. Like, I barely remember what happened in Frozen 2 or Ralph Breaks the Internet. Like, wait, I'm trying to think what happened exactly in those movies. Yeah, there's a good song here. That moment's pretty funny. What else is there besides that? I don't know. I just feel like with Moana too, like, I mean, if you guys love the movie, I mean, I'm totally okay with people liking this movie because there's a lot of Moana fans out there, and I can see why they had to do this because Moana's really freaking popular right now on Disney Plus and in general. And second, with the past few films that they released at the theaters, like with Strange World and Wish, they bombed so bad that I can't really blame them on making like this last minute decision. Like, oh crap, we're losing all this money. We'll just grab this TV series, release it in theaters, bada bing, bada boom. Because I was like taken by surprise. Because normally, like when they announce movies that are coming to theaters, we'll know like 2-3 years, maybe like a year in advance. Know like, okay, they're planning on releasing this movie in the next 2 years from now. Moana 2 just came right out of nowhere this year. Like, as soon as they made that announcement, I was like, wait, what? Moana 2, wait, when did they announce this? And then until later on, where I realized they like took like elements from the TV show and bring that to the movie, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. This is gonna suck. I'm sorry to sound. I know I'm sorry to sound negative about this, but like I said, if you've seen the movie and enjoyed it, that's totally fine. But for me, if I do end up watching this, I'm gonna wait till it's on Disney Plus, as it should have been in the first place. But again, I can see why Disney have done this, and I'm not gonna be like a sourpuss about it for people that did enjoy it. It's just low priority for me to see it.
I see. I understand. Yeah, I'm just going to go and say right now, I'm not going to go and immediately give out my thoughts. I will be having my review come out on Friday on YouTube, or on Wednesday if you want to see it early on my Patreon. So I'll just go and save my thoughts on the film for that. But I got to say, like, it's kind of shocking to see how, like, yeah, especially ever since the pandemic, Disney has been having a hard time or Disney Animation especially, has been having a hard time picking themselves back up at the box office. And even when they try to return, like with Strange World and Wish, and I'll even throw in, even Encanto, they all had a very difficult time trying to get back into theaters, trying to bring audiences back to the big screen, watching their movies and stuff like that. And yeah, I understand with the argument of Moana 2, of course, that does seem like a strategy to bring audiences back in, especially with something that it was literally announced earlier this year. You know, like I remember at the start of 2024, we still didn't know what Disney would have next after Wish. But now figuring out that it is Moana 2, seeing with how it did at the box office, like, wow, that like, it is honestly shocking. Like, not only did it manage to beat out the previous records by Frozen 2, but it beat it out by a long shot. Like, regardless of what the reviews have been saying, that even though nowadays, yes, generally the reactions from both critics and audiences, I would say on average it's been pretty mixed. But then again, with the fact that it already got like this massive debut, it's not at the point where it's like, terrible, you know, because we have recently seen how like a sequel to like a very anticipated sequel would not only not meet expectations, but would be flat out rejected by the public. Like, at the very least, Moana 2 is no Joker folie à deux. It's not bad to the point where it's so insulting where people would just walk out midway through the theater feeling like the movie would be insulting to them. So, and with Moana 2, honestly, this is a statement on how popular the franchise is. I don't think people have talked about like the popularity of Moana as a Disney franchise, because you mentioned earlier how Moana 2 or the first Moana is very popular on Disney Plus, but I would argue that honestly Moana is one of, if not the most streamed movie ever. Not just of Disney Plus, not just of Disney, like of all time. Amongst all the movies that you would find on a streaming service, a lot of people go to Moana. In fact, I'm sure there are many people out there who have Disney Plus because of having Moana so that they could go and watch it as many times as they want. Like, I would even say that with Moana, its popularity would even challenge Frozen. And now with what we have seen so far with Moana 2, it's going to be like already, like we could see now that the popularity can even be challenged at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising for me because I remember when the first Moana came out in theaters, I heard it did like pretty good at the box office. Not like Frozen levels, but it definitely did good enough. But I didn't think it would be like that popular. Like I knew it's gonna be like popular, but not to the point where it's like, yeah, with a sequel, it's gonna overshadow Frozen 2. And now people are gonna make predictions like it could be like up there with like Inside Out 2 as like one of the top highest grossing animated films out there, which I mean, if that happens, I mean, that'll definitely be more of a surprise, but also that's kind of like sad to think about because that's something that was originally meant to be a TV series, but that's aside the point. But anyways, continue. Sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. Actually, you do bring up something that I did wanted to go and ask you because now with this epic opening that Moana 2 just did, a lot of people now a lot of reporters and box office analysts now they're already talking about the possibility of, no pun intended, how far will Moana 2 go? And some are even stating that it could legitimately challenge Inside Out 2 to become the highest grossing animated feature of all time. Do you think Moana 2 would have what it takes? Like, even right now, with the reception that it has from critics and audiences, with the kind of word of mouth that it has, do you think Moana 2 will have a chance to compete against Inside Out 2?
Probably not. But at the same time, it's like I was surprised to find out that Inside Out 2 managed did so well. Like, I thought I thought Inside Out 2 was just gonna do like good numbers. But I didn't think it would be like that great. Like I was like shocked to find like how well it's doing at the box office. So I wouldn't put it past Moana 2 to get up there. Maybe like I'm trying to do the numbers, like maybe in the top 20, but that's like it's hard to predict these things because I wouldn't be like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it does do the numbers as Inside Out 2. But that also like kind of concerns me knowing like if this is doing like really well, like what the future of Disney animation is going to be like. Is it they're going to see those numbers and be like, well, time to make more sequels, I guess. Screw originality. And not to say like they probably go that route, but it is kind of concerning knowing like they're going to probably put more focus on the sequels as a. I mean, we already talked about like how when we did the D23 episode, how many sequels they're planning on doing with like not just with Disney but also with Pixar. And honestly, it's just kind of concerning because I love Walt Disney Animation Studios. Like, if whenever I ask people, like, I'm a big fan of Disney, I always ask them, like, I'm mainly a fan of Walt Disney Animation Studios and the theme parks. Don't get me wrong, I still love Pixar, Marvels, all that stuff still, but it's just those two that I'm really big fan of. Like, I'm at the point where I've seen, like, every single Walt Disney Animation Studios film, short film, whatnots. And the only exceptions to that films I haven't seen yet are their recent stuff, Strange World, Wish, and Moana 2, because it just shows me to the point where it's like, okay, so do you know how like each decade is like divided by okay, so you got the golden age, the packaged film age, the silver age.
Yeah, like there's an ebb and flow to their history. Like sometimes they'll have their great parts and then they'll have some darker as in like less successful parts as well.
Exactly, yeah. I'm not saying this is going to be like another dark age of Disney, but I'm going to call this the 2020 age the boring ass age because I'm just getting nothing out of these films. And I get that. I totally get it. Filmmaking is not easy. And I'm sure these animators are working hard to bring out what they can with the script, the animation, and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like whenever I watch these trailers of like Strange World, Wish, Moana 2, I'm gonna be honest. I was being very optimistic towards Wish. Like I was hoping for the best for that movie to be like really good. Like I was like hoping like people were saying bad things about it at first with the trailers and all. And I'm just saying like okay, it's just the trailers. Maybe like the film itself could be really good. And from what I've heard about it, no, it's like probably like one of the worst Disney films out there. And I was like being like, okay, that's just like a few people are saying that, but everybody's been saying that. And what convinced me not to see the film is I remember like I saw one of my friends made a post on their Facebook saying like, oh, I saw Wish. It's definitely the worst. It's definitely worse than Chicken Little. And I was like sitting here like, Oh man, if it's worse than Chicken Little, then there's literally no point in watching that movie. Then,
Nah,
at least with what? Sorry.
no. You continue. Sorry. Didn't
Oh,
mean to
I
interrupt.
was gonna. Oh no, you're good. And I was gonna say like, okay, at least with Chicken Little, I got a little bit of enjoyment out of that. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. And the thing was like, okay, gonna be going back when I said earlier with like the 2020 films, with the exception of Encanto and Once Upon a Studio short film. Yeah, sorry. I just felt this has not been a good year with Walt Disney Animation Studios. Yeah, they made a lot of money with Moana 2, but from all the reviews I heard about it, I just heard that film was like pointless. Like, what's even the point if they're going to do anything new or exciting with it? Because all the films that I've like seen or heard, like, okay, the last film I saw, not counting Encanto, Ray and the Last Dragon, I felt nothing out of that movie. Yeah, the animation is great, but it didn't leave me with excitement, laughter, tearfulness, or all that stuff. I just felt absolutely nothing. Not to say it was a bad film or anything, but it just gained nothing out of it. And like I said, what I heard with like Strange World and Wish, it's basically the same thing. Whereas like people just felt like nothing out of these films, and I'm just like sitting here, it's just like I don't really see no point in me watching these films. And I hate saying that because I love the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Like I absolutely love like the films that they pull out. And this is not me like knocking the studio whatsoever, because like I said, Matt, like they have their dark ages. So they have the package films of World War II. They got the dark ages of the 80s, the 2000s. That was definitely a dark age. This is just another point in their history where it's going to be like another, maybe not as bad as those, but definitely like the lesser decades when compared to like how it was with the 2010s or the 90s or the 50s and all that stuff. So it's just one of those cases where it's like, yeah, it stinks now in my opinion, but I feel like it's really hard to predict these things. And I hate to say it, with how this is turning out, I'm honestly less excited with Zootopia 2. I mean, I'm hoping that movie. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that movie's going to be fine. I'm hoping it'll be good. It sounds intriguing how it's going to execute like the plot wise, but at the same time, with like the track record, with like not just their sequels, but with the Pixar sequels, I don't know. Like I really did enjoy Inside Out 2. That's like the most I got out of these sequels. And to be honest, with the exception of that, the last good sequel that I saw from them, I'm going to be honest, it's Toy Story 3. Like, I mean, not to say that the other films are bad. They're just more just like, they're there. Like, I got some enjoyment out of them, but they just don't grab my attention as they did with like Toy Story 3. And at this point, I'm just like rambling at this point. Like, again, I try not to be Mr. Negative about this whole thing, but long story short, I just feel like I'm not looking forward to seeing Moana 2. I'll probably just watch on Disney Plus as like background noise when I'm working on like projects and such. But for me, I'm kind of concerned like what they're going for the rest of this decade.
Yeah, I just want to go and state this right now. At least when it comes to Wish, like I know like people say like I'm in the minority on this, and I have gotten backlash for actually saying positive things about it, but I do recommend that you watch Wish at least once. Like just at least try it out. I'm not going to convince you to say like no, it's actually good and stuff like that, but at least like try to at least experience it for yourself, like to see how it actually is. For me personally, I don't think it's as bad as what the internet says it is, and I mean, with how the internet can be, like sometimes they'll go and exaggerate their claims for the sake of views and clicks and stuff like that. So at least, yeah, honestly, with stuff like Strange World, I don't really care all that much about it. But at least with Wish, that's one I would recommend. Try it at least once and see how your feelings will go from there. I definitely wouldn't say that it's like worse than Chicken Little or anything like that. But like at least just to try that out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit that little star character is cute. I'll say that.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
he definitely is.
And to think, like, have you seen the original concepts of that film? What it's supposed to be?
I've heard. Yeah, I mean, I've heard about it. But then again, like, I feel that's such a cop out of a freaking excuse because, like, Have you, like, how many movies that you see the concept art and you see what it could have been and you would think to yourself, oh, that could have been better. It's like, yeah, like, you know, there are so many movies that are like that, actually. Like, like this happens all the time when people see what happens behind the scenes. I feel like that's just a desperate excuse to find something to fuel the rage on like a Wish and stuff like that, just for the sake. Like, honestly, a lot of it is just for engagement purposes, and it's not actually because of the movie itself. It's just because,
I totally get it.
Like, I'm not saying like people are wrong about Wish and stuff like that, but there's a lot of it is exaggerated. I'm just saying.
You know, maybe I will give Wish a chance. Like, maybe after this podcast, like, I'll put it on as I'm working on other stuff just to see what it's like. Because I actually don't mind that the main song. How's it go?
Oh, This Wish.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind that song.
Yeah,
so
that's actually that's a nice one, I gotta say.
Yeah, because I tend to listen to that from time to time. It's like, it's not a bad song, but yeah, everything else about it is like, who knows? Maybe my opinion could change about it, but yeah, I'll give it a chance.
All right, that's all I ask. But anyways, back to the main subject with Moana
sorry, sidetracked it.
No, it's all right. It's all right. The funny thing is that with Moana 2, I feel like in terms of the question, would they is it going to be like the highest grossing animated film of all time? I feel like for now it's a little too early to say. But I think it's already on track to be very successful. Like, people are already getting into it. The reception so far has been mixed, which is not the worst thing ever. And like, generally, a lot of people would say that Moana 2 is mid. And I'm just going to say right now, mid is not enough to deter people away from watching something. So in that regard, with Moana 2, I could definitely, like, it's going to be a hit no matter what. And I wouldn't be surprised if it'll make over $1 billion at the box office.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be the highest grossing film, like to surpass Inside Out 2, that's the part where I personally would highly question. Because again, like, even though the word of mouth is not the worst, like, a big part of like how Inside Out 2 got to where it is today is because of the big push of the positive word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why like Wish and Strange World haven't done so well, because they haven't been received well. And it's pretty obvious why Moana 2 is doing so well is because it's mostly like families are going to see the film during Thanksgiving break. And I'm honestly more shocked that it's doing well compared to Wicked. I mean, Wicked is doing good, and I definitely seen Wicked, and I definitely enjoy that movie. But I'm just like more surprised that it's just doing that well compared to like how Wicked is doing on numbers. Like, that definitely surprised me, because I would assume like families will see Wicked more than Moana 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, then again, I would I know like I might get backlash for saying it, but I think it's more just the factor on the recognizability of the brand. And I think with what we have seen with Moana 2, with the big success that it's been getting, that's I think it is a stronger explanation than the critical reception of stuff like Strange World and Wish. That a big part of the reason why people didn't go see that film is because they're not familiar with any of the characters or with any of the with any of the backgrounds or anything like that. With Moana 2, they kind of know what they're getting into, so they're most likely to get in. It's kind of like when they saw, like, it's kind of like when the general public saw like Strange World and Wish. They saw that and they were like, "What the fridge is this?" It was, and then suddenly Moana 2 came out. It's like, "Oh, we got a Disney movie! Holy crap! It's a new Disney movie! We got to go see the new Disney movie!"
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's very unfortunate, and I get why, but it's just. Nowadays, it's really hard to be original because it's trying to like convince people to watch something that they haven't seen before, and it's just like it's scary to some to watch something that they haven't they're not familiar with.
Exactly. And I mean, even right now, like when you see The Wild Robot, for example, like it's one of the highest rated movies of the year, and yet the box office numbers, like it's still very well for itself, but I think right now it only did like over 300 million, and those are not the kind of numbers that you want to see a movie like Moana 2 would make, like overall and stuff like that. Like studios want to make the numbers that Moana 2 is making right now instead of The Wild Robot.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Hollywood. They're always going to learn the wrong lessons when it comes to this. Like, oh, it's doing great because there's a sequel and people love sequels, so we should make more sequels. And or like with Wicked, like I'm sure like without that's doing well, people are going to make people like to see more musicals. They want to do more musicals. It doesn't matter if the plot's going to be good, but it's a musical, so people are going to love it. It's definitely disheartening, and it just makes me worry like how original films are going to do in the future. And granted, I'm part of the problem because I haven't seen The Wild Robot in theaters, and I just seen like the movies I've seen in theaters are on top of my head are Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Beetlejuice, and Wicked, from my knowledge, and they're all IP based, and I'm part of the problem. I just haven't seen like and that's another issue too. Is like when it comes to like original films.
Actually, sorry, just beforehand, I just want to go and put up a break because there's going to be a commercial that'll pop up soon. So I just want to go and activate that, and then we'll go and conclude our story after the break.
Sounds good.
Oh, there we go. We're back. All right. By the way, Logan is just out a little bit. He'll be right back soon. But in the meantime, since we are here, since it is just me, I just want to go and give out my final thoughts so far on the whole thing with Moana 2. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, Logan just came back. So, Logan,
yeah,
do you want to?
About that.
Yeah. Do you want to give out the rest of your thoughts right there?
Yeah. Overall, really quick. Yeah, I mean, congratulations on Walt Disney Animation Studios themselves on making a good profit out of Moana 2. But in the same time, I'm just like more concerned about like if this is like giving them an idea to like make more sequels in the future, more underwhelming sequels. And yeah, and like I said before we cut the break, I'm part of the problem because all the movies I've seen this year in theaters have been IP based, whether it be like a sequel or something that's based on an already existing thing. And it just shows that like it's complicated. Like I'm hopeful that Disney doesn't take like the wrong idea to make more sequels in the future. I definitely want to see more originality out of these guys. And when something original does happen, like I'll be intrigued. I just hope for the best. And overall, congratulations on making good profits out of Moana 2. I'm just not a fan of it right now. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say a little bit of the same thing. Congratulations to the team at Walt Disney Animation Studios for having that big success and your first big success in a long time since Frozen 2 before the pandemic. Like, finally, you got a movie that puts you back on your feet, even if it is something like Moana 2 that has a very unusual production history. At least, it is something that helped you get into there, and we will see how Moana 2 will do at the box office for the rest of the year and onward with how much it will ultimately get in total. So with that said, now I would like to go onto the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about Moana 2's record-breaking success during its opening weekend? Are you guys thrilled that Disney is back on their feet and that Moana 2 is a big hit? Are you guys a bit disappointed because you may not like Moana 2? Let me know what you may think on this. All right. While I haven't seen Moana 2, mainly because I had a huge snowstorm around my area, this is definitely an achievement. It's definitely thanks to the first movie being one of the most streamed animated films. Not to mention this being the best Thanksgiving weekend for movies in recent years, thanks to the addition of Gladiator 2 and Wicked. And at this point, the only competition that Moana 2 has is Wicked, because they're both musicals aiming for families. Yeah, and that is another thing worth mentioning, is that thanks to Moana 2, along with the help of Wicked and Gladiator 2, so far this has been one of the biggest Thanksgiving pulls that movie theaters has gotten. Like the gross that they have received, I think it's like over $400 million during the weekend. So yeah, this is definitely like it like regardless of how the movies themselves are, like this was a big win for movie theaters in general.
Oh yeah, when I saw Wicked, the screening I went to was completely sold out, and that was at like a 3:00 showing.
Oh dang!
Yeah,
All right. I am happy that Moana 2 became a box office success because Walt Disney Animation Studios needed a box office hit after the previous films were box office flops like Raya, Encanto, Strange World, and Wish. Walt Disney finally had a box office hit since Frozen 2 back in 2019. This reminds me of how the Super Mario Bros. Movie made money at the box office despite critic hate. Yeah, and I would even say, like, even some more recent examples, like, honestly, with how Moana 2 is doing, it reminds me of Kung Fu Panda 4. Because it kind of got the similar reception from critics and audiences. A lot of people feeling like it is a disappointment, a massive downgrade from the original Kung Fu Panda films. But it still went on to be pretty successful in its own right. And there are even some elements that has gotten a significant fan base. Like there are the new character Zhen already has a lot of people loving her. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing would occur with Moana 2, that, you know, there are probably some elements, like maybe not the entire movie, but a few things that people will love from it.
Yeah, I can see that. Can't really think of any of the new characters' names, but I'm sure they have fans.
Oh yeah, of course you don't know them yet because you haven't seen the movie yet.
Fair enough.
All right. Moana 2 is nowhere near one of the worst Walt Disney Animation Studios films. Like, it's not a perfect sequel, but calling it a direct-to-DVD quality was a bit of a stretch in my opinion. I'm a bit split on this. Like, it's a double-edged sword on how the future could be in terms of Walt Disney Animation Studios quality. Like, I'm not upset, but I'm worried on what wrong lesson the higher-ups can take from this. Though here's hoping I'm wrong, though. We do have some original films on the way starting in 2016, so I wouldn't give up on hope yet. That is true, because technically, yeah, like, Disney already has stuff like Zootopia 2, Frozen 3 and 4, but in 2026, they're going to be putting out an original movie. We just don't know what it is yet.
Which I'm hoping for the best on that one. Mm-hmm. So, oh yeah, and I totally forgot about Frozen 3 and 4. That we'll have to wait and see, because as you can tell, I'm a big fan of the first Frozen film. I don't know if you can see those cutouts.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. The second one was but I still love the first one regardless, so.
Let's see. To be very honest, I got the same thoughts with most of the critics and audiences that Moana 2 is all right. It's fine and all, but definitely not as great as the original. Even with the mixed reception, how it performed at the box office is absolutely shocking. It really goes to show that you never underestimate the popularity of Moana. Honestly, I'll take an okay sequel over a Moana live-action remake. Do you guys see what Maui looks like in Shades?
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, there is that damn remake, which... Whatever.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to appreciate, no matter how Moana 2 is, I'm going to appreciate that, because no matter what, there's a very high chance that the next Moana movie with that live action remake, it's going to be so much worse.
So much. But what can you do?
Yeah, exactly. Even though I haven't seen Moana 2 just yet, I am so thankful that they have grossed $386 million behind Wicked and Gladiator 2. Even I heard that AMC theaters had a line limit to those movies, and you have to wait a seat for an animated film. I would like to thank Disney for that box office milestone and keep up the great work. Also, speaking of Disney, they cut a Deadpool joke about Mickey Mouse dick in the script of Deadpool and Wolverine. What the writers thinking about that?
Yeah, I did hear about that. I was thinking myself, I can see why they cut that.
Well, I mean, like, did they already mention about like there's already a pegging joke in the freaking film, so I mean, like, would it be too much of a line to cross there?
Yeah, I think it's because they mentioned Mickey Mouse by name. I feel like that might be pushing it from Disney's perspective. So, yeah, I can see why.
So Deadpool can name drop the Minions, but not Mickey Mouse.
Well, they don't own the Minions, so screw them.
Fair enough. But I think with that said, we're going to go on to our final break. We're going to go and reset the timer for the ads. And when we do come back, we'll have one more story, and it will still be Disney related, But I gotta say that I think out of all the lost media that's been uncovered so far, this one is probably the biggest of the year. So stay tuned for that. And now it is time that we shall go and end this episode off with the grand finale. And for this finale, we're going to have a little bit of a throwback of something that me and Logan have collaborated on with Animation Look Back, Walt Disney Animation Studios Plus. Now, what is debatably one of, if not the most memorable the little cartoons that you have helped provided, like one of the best and one of the most memorable is easily the one about Fantasia 2000, the one discussing about the scrapped idea of the Disney princesses to the music of Pomp and Circumstances, where they all simultaneously get married and they all end up having a child. You remember that one, Logan?
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of my best highlights in general from my end when it comes to like these anime segments, because really quick before we get to the story. So normally how I do these segments, it's like, Matt, you will send me an email with the list of like segments that you want potentially be animated for each part of the animation look back. And earlier when I first started, I do my best to like animate all the segments that you send me. But as time progressed and the more ambitious I get with these segments, I try to reduce them down to just like 2 of the 4 you suggested to me, because I want to make sure I do my best to like make sure these animation segments like pop out. And I figure like some of the suggestions you sent me would take more time to animate. And by the time we get to the Fantasia 2000 moment or part, along with Dinosaur and Emperor to the Groove, when you send me that info about the potential like segment for Fantasia 2000 with the princesses, I was like, okay, I am game on this. This sounds so insane that I have to do something with it. And I delivered something insane by execution of it. And I feel like it's probably one of my best like segments I've done for your animation look back. And it's definitely like, because when you send me that info about what it could have been, that just sounds like the most ridiculous, insane things that I've heard from Disney. That is like, okay, I have to do something with it. And it just sounds like something wacky that I had to do something crazy with it. And it turned out, and I'm glad everybody loved that segment. It's definitely like one of the highlights of animation look back.
Yeah, and not to mention that you posted that individual clip onto TikTok, and that went viral.
Basically, yeah. The segment that has like Aurora and Prince Philip like about to make some magic of their own. And I overlay with like the instrumental for one of Melody Martinez's songs, and that blew up unexpectedly. And people are definitely, some find it funny, others didn't know the context of that scene. But to be fair, I was pretty vague of it. They're saying like Disneyland after hours. Wink.
Yeah, that definitely is out of context. But But I will say, I remember I learned about that fact when I was going through the audiobook of Disney War. And it's a very fascinating book, and I highly recommend you go and read it, or again, listen to the audiobook. And when they went into that part, like that was one of the things that really stood out. It was like, it's like Michael Eisner wanted what? It was just wild.
Like I'm pretty good at knowing like Walt Disney Animation Studios history, but that just like threw under my radar. Like that's when I first heard about that. That's like the first time I was aware of it. When you sent me that info, I was like, what?
Oh yeah, like I even had to double check on Disney World to be sure. Like, is it true? That's what those are what the words said. But then recently, however, there was a discovery. And honestly, it was a true game changer, where one of the craziest behind-the-scenes Disney stories turned out to indeed be real. And right over here, this is indeed the animatic of that lost segment where, okay, hold on a sec. Now there's just a commercial that they just need to put out. Yes, no, we're not here to see Amy Schumer. We're here to see this. Yes. Over here. This is indeed that segment that we've been talking about. I'm not putting up the music because, well, copyright reasons. But as you could see here, this is indeed all the Disney princesses in that segment for Pomp and Circumstances for originally Fantasia 2000. Now, the big thing to go and mention, how did this come to be? This is actually brought to us by a group by the name of Lost Media Busters. And this is actually discovered specifically by a user by the name of Sounds Guy Matt. Or sometimes he would go around by the name of Sounds Like Matt. And this is specifically taken from something that he found that is much bigger. In the Internet Archives, they actually found something that is much larger, which is the 1992 work print of what was called Fantasia 2. So if you guys know the history of Fantasia 2000, there was like this long history of Fantasia 2000. Like, I think throughout the 90s, they wanted to go and create this thing. And yeah, like there's even a work print that goes as far back as 1992. And in here, you'll find a lot of the segments that they have done, including this one over here. There have been a few that are also deleted that weren't used in Fantasia 2000 ultimately, but this one really stood out. And what is very interesting with this is that not only did it turn out to be true, not only did we see all the Disney princesses together, and it's like the same story of how like we see all the princesses, they're having a ceremony where they're married to their respective princes, but then at the end they all end up having a child. But on top of that, this was a mega crossover. This had like a whole bunch of Disney characters all coming together for this ceremony. So this was actually something that was in the leagues of, or that was originally planned to be something that was similar to what we have today with Once Upon a Studio, where it's just like a whole bunch of Disney characters coming together for this big narrative, like for this entire segment. So it wasn't just the Disney princesses, but it was everyone coming together. And also, I just want to go and quickly add that when it comes to the princesses having a baby, it's not like what we have discussed in Animation Look Back. It's not like suddenly all the princesses get pregnant. At the most, they only get metaphorically pregnant because all the babies are delivered by storks. And
I gotta say, that is less worse. That is way less worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, thank God it's just storks.
Yeah, that is true. And you may have noticed Donald Duck is also featured. And the crazy thing is that Donald actually has a prominent side plot where he is supposed to be delivering the crowns for the babies, but then at times, like, he'll often get King Stefan just telling him, like, no, not yet, and often, like, he'll have some other obstacles, like, in the way. Like, there's even at one point, Donald fights against TikTok the crocodile to not be eaten and stuff like that. So from there is that side plot where you got the cartoon aspect where Donald is just going around trying to make sure he could get the job done, which of course ultimately he does. But it is funny that the segment would always have Donald Duck as a very prominent character. So Logan, I want to know your thoughts after watching this whole thing. How do you feel about it?
A lot is going through my mind right now because honestly, okay, so when you sent me the link to that video, I was just like doing my normal thing. Like, and I was working on my Amazement Park project, just working on it. Then I got your notification. And as soon as I opened it up, I saw the link you sent me. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, wait. What? This is actually legit. Okay, so funny thing about it, because my whole thought process was, I thought it was just an idea that Michael Eisner had. Like, it was just an idea he had in his brain. He mentioned it to his storyboard team, whatnot, and they rejected it on the spot. I did not realize they went the effort to actually storyboard this thing. Like, that took me by surprise. I didn't realize they went to that level of actually hand-drawn the whole, well, not hand-drawn, but like draw out the storyboard, like how everything's going to be executed. That blew my mind. I didn't realize. I thought it was just going to be like the princesses alone, but I didn't realize that like all their Disney characters are going to be involved. Like, yeah, because you saw like the Robin Hood characters, the Baloo from the Jungle Book, Pinocchio, Alice, the Wendy and Michael John, Song of the South characters. Like that honestly like surprised me the most. Like this is just like a mega crossover of all these characters at the time. Yeah, it's just like it just blew my mind on so many levels. And as soon as you hold on, Matt, I gotta like watch this on my big screen TV because this is something I needed to sit down and like watch properly. And after watching it alone, I can see why they cut it. I can definitely see why they cut it. But at the same time, this is Fantasia 2000. Well, potentially Fantasia 2000. I'm sure the animations would have been beautiful. Like, I would at least be curious to see what the final animation of this would have looked like, because knowing like how they executed like the film in general, like it would have been so beautifully crafted. And I did like that one moment where you see like Ariel and Eric dancing, and then behind them you can see her mermaid form and her like shadow, and then after that you see Belle and the Beast dancing, and then you see the beast form as a shadow. Like, I thought that part was really cool, and the stuff they did with Donald and TikTok was pretty funny. As soon as he's laying in the pool and you see like Bambi, which by the way, why didn't they invite Bambi? That seems like a dick move. Like they invite the Dalmatian dogs, but not Bambi. Like what? But anyways, no, overall, like, and I gotta say this description. When you mentioned me, when they mentioned about like them being pregnant, thank God they didn't go with that direction. I mean, granted, it's still like like a metaphor, like with the storks and all this. So, like, I thought it's going to be like so much worse. Like, you actually see them being pregnant, and how are they able to get the kids out? I don't want to question how that, because I could be wrong, but didn't somebody mention, like one of the animators mentioned, like the reason that because it felt more like a cult than anything.
Yeah, that was one of the explanations, that the whole thing did feel like a cult. And I'm not gonna lie, there is a part of me that does feel like when you do watch this, there is something like culty that is kind of going on with this. Like, they try to present it as like a massive ceremony, but then like you look at it and it's like, I don't know, there's just like this vibe that feels a little bit off with what they're doing right here. It's like, especially with the participation of like all the Disney characters, with how this is so coordinated, it's just like, yeah, like it's beautifully displayed, but on the other hand, it's like, am I the only one that finds it weird that like this is so well orchestrated? It's like, it's too well orchestrated in a way.
Which, by the way, bonus points for any references to the band concert short, because that's definitely one of my personal favorite Mickey Mouse shorts.
Oh yeah, same here actually.
Yeah. And also the inclusion of the Three Little Pigs. That's my favorite since. But anyways, but yeah, I'm glad it's not as bad as I thought it was originally meant to be. But for me personally, if I was like in charge of that short, if they have to move forward with it, I'll just make it like a big wedding ceremony where all the princesses and princes all get married at once. You could make that argument like, well, Cinderella and Ariel already got married. That was too sudden. They need like more time to spare, like to get to know each other. So I would make it just one big wedding ceremony. Donald could just be the ring bearer, just have the rings and all that stuff. But hey, what do I know?
But then again, I would argue that technically with your suggestion, what you're doing, like, I know that technically like it was done way after, but what you're describing sounds a little bit like that Tangled short, the Happily Ever After one.
Oh yeah, that short.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. See, I would have been. Yeah. But anyways, continue.
No, but I would say that honestly, I'm on the same page as you. It really is fascinating to see this actually coming to life. But at the same time, I am definitely glad they didn't go with this idea, because like, as cool as it is to see this kind of Disney mega crossover, it's not a good, it did not look. No, it's just, there's something very, like I said, there's something very off about it. Like, when you hear the idea of like all the Disney princesses are simultaneously getting married and then they end up having a child. Like, even though it doesn't seem as bad and like, you know, like you got the storks instead of the actual pregnancy going on, like it still feels weird. Like one shot I do recall, like it's at the end, like one thing that I remember is yeah, like here's one example where you got Snow White with her baby, but it's specifically the one that stands out for me is like this one. Hold on a sec. It's just, yeah, right over here where you see like Aladdin and Jasmine with their baby, and also Aurora and Philip with theirs. And then you got Donald Duck that's in the middle that honestly really does describe the scenario. Like he's just looking at everything. It's like, what the heck is going on? Are we allowed to do this? Is this what the ceremony is about? Like,
wait, I thought this movie was G-rated, not PG.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what? Like, is this okay? Is this kosher? Are we allowed to do this? You know, that's honestly the feeling that I am getting. And yeah, like even this image we're seeing, like all these princesses having their babies at the same time. It's like, I don't know, like the vibe is just a little too weird. So that is already a reason why we shouldn't have this. But also another reason why, like, yeah, maybe back then, like a few years ago, it would have been great to see this come to life. That I could definitely see this as something like, I wish they could have done something like this. But now I feel like it's unnecessary because we got Once Upon a Studio. Once Upon a Studio has already given to us that mega crossover, and what they've pulled off was amazing. They did that so beautifully well, and especially something that honors like the legacy of Disney animation. In that regards, I don't like at this point, it doesn't feel necessary that we would need something like this going on. Like they already got that covered. Plus they already used a better narrative. So honestly, I'm at the point where like I'm definitely okay with the fact that we have this, and not to mention the entire Fantasia 2 work print. Like that is an amazing find. Like I got to give credit to Sounds Like Matt and the people at Lost Media Busters. They definitely deserve credit for having that discovery. But at the same time, it's like, it's best to keep it just like that, you know, to keep it as just as a concept thing, to see what it could have been, and just be thankful that we didn't have that right now, you know? Like, honestly, like, you know, not only do we have Once Upon a Studio, but we also got the current Pomp and Circumstance segment in Fantasia 2000 with the Noah's Ark story with Donald Duck. I'm happy with those, and let's leave it as just that. Just a concept to make Michael Eisner happy, and that ultimately it didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm honestly okay with that too, because it would have been intriguing. Like I said, it will be fully animated, but, and also going back to that work print, I did see the other segment that they released. It's the one about like the dreams and all that stuff. Did you see that one, Matt?
Oh, I heard about. Yeah. I did see that. That was an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cool, like how they execute it. But I mean, it's definitely cool and cute and all that stuff. But it's definitely not as memorable as the pregnant princess is.
Yeah, exactly. No, it doesn't stand out from seeing like all the princesses with their child. I mean, like,
they're not them people. Yeah, also, you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I just want to mention, I know a lot of people will bring this up. Yes, we know that Ariel already got their kid with, she already got Melody in The Little Mermaid 2. But even that one feels like, okay, it makes a little bit more sense, because you could say like time has passed and like, when Ariel became of age, that's when she got her kid. Like, you could make that argument.
Oh, yeah.
This, however...
And also...
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also, like, that's not really considered Disney animation canon. That's more like, that's something separate. I don't count Melody as that being part of the animation canon.
Yeah, if we got to make that canon, then we also have to make canon Ursula's crazy sister.
That too, yeah. Also, missed opportunity. They should have made Belle's baby a puppy.
Yo,
That would be messed up, but that would be so hilarious. Not that they would do that, but come on, that would have been funny.
it kind of reminds me of that joke in the House of Mouse. It's like, maybe you could have some people can have puppies, some people don't.
Yeah, that joke.
Yes. Oh my god,
man.
So yeah, with that said though, now I want to go into the chat wall and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the lost segment now being discovered? Did you guys see the short? Or did you guys see the segment? What do you all think of it? And do you think they should have gone through with that idea? Let me know what you all think about it. All right. Honestly, this is certainly a discovery. The fact someone actually discovered the segment from Fantasia 2000 is fascinating. While I do understand why they cut it because of how it feels kind of awkward, it would have been beautifully animated. But again, compared to the princesses being pregnant, it could have been much, much worse. Seriously, it felt like it was only meant to please Michael Eisner. Most likely.
Yeah, our take on the animation is far more worse. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
glad I think, yeah, it's so much worse, but I couldn't resist myself.
I mean, we did it in a satirical way, man. I mean,
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
not like an official thing. Like us doing it, like showing the Disney princesses pregnant as a joke. That's one thing. If Disney does that officially, that just makes it too weird.
We have so many questions to ask.
Oh, yeah. I'm very glad they scrapped the idea. Seriously, what was Michael Eisner thinking? It's really cool that the lost media community managed to find one of the lost animatics from Fantasia 2000 to present the world what would have been the original Pomp and Circumstance segment. I'm very happy that the babies were delivered by storks, but I'm glad that we got the Noah's Ark story. That one is more cute and iconic. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see now. Honest to God, I remembered you said this in the look back. The moment you described this, I thought by itself, it sounds like something you completely made up. I'm not saying you did, but it sounded too crazy to be true, if you know what I mean. Seeing it now, honestly, I think I would have liked it anyway, or I'm happy that we already got. Like, I could say it looked like a precursor to Once Upon a Studio, besides that, just being too weird. But hey, at least we know what it would have been. Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice curiosity.
Yeah, I think I prefer the princesses not holding babies as if it's their own. There's just something off with that image. It's like, wait. It's like, now let's bring up the age question.
Oh, yeah, that... Oh, continue. Who's next?
Like I told Eisner, they're under the age of 18.
Oh.
All right. We don't have a lot of comments though, so I'll just read one more.
That's surprising. I thought there'd be like more comments. Like,
well, I mean, we are.
baffled.
I mean, we are pretty late in the episode, so I mean, we're near towards
True.
the end. As an aspiring Disney historian myself, I'm always happy that this has finally been discovered, that Fantasia 2000 deleted scene and alternate Pomp and Circumstances. It is not pregnant, but delivered by storks, but weird. All right, and with that said, that should do it for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Logan, thank you so much for joining me on this one. It was definitely a blast to have you on board again.
Oh yeah, this is definitely another fun one with like so many like things happening. Lots of surprising news that, yeah, it was definitely like something worth talking about. And I'm glad like I was able to have experience again with you talking about all these.
Yeah, definitely. And before we go, if people want to go and follow you, where can they find you on the internet?
Obviously you can find me still on my YouTube channel, Twitter under ToucanLDM. But something else new I added, and not a big surprise, but I am now on Blue Sky. So if you do want to follow me on there, as opposed to the other place, you can just find me under ToucanLDM, and you can find my new. So basically, I did like a little new rebranding of myself, where instead of like going to my profile, you see a picture of like a avatar of myself. You'll see more of like my little like toucan character that I created as like more like a mascot of ToucanLDM in general. So you might see like a toucan on there as opposed to like a character of myself. So yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky, Twitter, YouTube, and all that stuff. And yeah, I don't expect to post much on there But what I would do mostly post is like occasionally I'll post like a fan art, but also like updates in regards to my upcoming pilot, Amazement Park, which I'm still working hard on it. I know it's taking much more longer than expected, but when it comes to like a one-man show, when it on the animation side of things, you gotta find like the right balance between that and my day job. And I'm definitely still making good progress. So don't get me wrong. It's definitely coming along very well.
Definitely glad to hear that. And like, nice to know that it is like going along nicely. And also, if you want to go and follow more crazy updates and more new episodes of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't forget to go and subscribe to either the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel or the AniMat Live Twitch channel. And if you are following me on whatever or on whatever podcast service that you're listening to right now, then, if you're listening to me on a podcast service, then don't forget to go and follow me there, whether it be on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, or whatever. And with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.
See ya.